Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning.
Careers and Coffee. This is episode number 11. I had to look that up. I lost count.
We're so great at this now.
Experienced podcasters, right? YouTubers. Cool. Well, I have big news today, Liz.
Yeah?
Guess what? September 16th, we're going back to having a career fair.
Career fair. Oh, I pointed the wrong way. Career
Other
week.
way. That's career week. So special announcement. Yeah, we are having a career week that entire week, September 13th through the 16th, culminating with an in-person career fair at Nubo City Market, downtown Cedar Rapids, Nubo District, in conjunction with a Meet Me at the Market Thursday night at Nubo City Market.
Yeah, so you could hop on a VO and get yourself to the career fair.
And do some yoga and hang out and get some food. And yeah, so
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Absolutely. 3:30 to 6:30 Thursday night. I know we're still two plus months away, almost 3 months away, but we're excited. We're expecting up to 30 employers, hopefully. I know we've already got a few lined up and many more to come. So we're pumped up for that.
Yeah, I would say the employers are very excited to have an in-person career fair. So I think it's a win-win. And hopefully you have a job by September and you don't even need to come to our career fair, but it's going to be a really great way to kind of mix with employers and the excitement that is Nubo and just get a sense of what's out there. So maybe you're thinking, oh, actually, I'm not going to return to work until the fall when my kids are back in school. So September 16th is a little bit after that. So you have time to get people kind of settled into routines at that point. So it's really going to be a good time. And Career Week is all about getting you prepped for that day in person of, refining your resume and talking up your, interview skills and maybe just working over your elevator pitch and some of those things. And we had some good feedback from job seekers who attended the spring career week that was just virtual about how it kind of helped them kind of get a focus when they were doing their job search. So hope it'll do the same for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll put links to where you can go sign up actually for Career Week if you're interested in doing that already. I know we've already had several people sign up and say they want to attend. And I just want to say real quick, there is a reason why we ask people to sign up and we capture email addresses and names. And it's because the employers that attend, they want resumes. They want a list of people that were there. And so it's kind of mutually beneficial, right? You as a job seeker want to get your resume in front of all these employers. They're at the career fair looking for people hungry to work. So that's the reason why we ask people to sign up. If you don't do it on our website, and we'll put a link in the show notes here, you can sign up the day of the event.
Yeah, and everyone that does sign up is in and shows up to Career Week or a career fair, like in person, will be in the running for a $50 Amazon gift card. So just a little sweeten the deal there.
$50.
50 buckaroos.
That'll go a long ways on Amazon. That's a lot of coffee.
I guess it depends if you have Prime or not. For me, $50 doesn't go very far, but.
All right, cool. Well, that's enough about career week, career fair. We just want to touch briefly today on unemployment. And, obviously, right now we're in late June of 2021. We have a lot of people that haven't returned to the workforce yet, kind of post-COVID. Maybe they lost their job or became unemployed sometime in 2020. And then for whatever reason, everybody's situation is kind of different. Have not returned to the workforce yet. Maybe are holding out, looking for that right job, or waiting for the job industry that they work in to pick back up a little bit more. So we just wanted to touch on some of the benefits and opportunities with going back to work and having a job. And so aside from just having a regular paycheck, I have a few of these pulled up on my other monitor right now. But Liz, I want to get your thoughts on having the number two thing they say, aside from a regular paycheck as a benefit, is a sense of identity.
Yeah.
So I want to get your thoughts on having a sense of identity with what you do in your job.
That's definitely something that when you lose a job, you feel a loss of, is a sense of identity. So sometimes the sense of identity that comes with a job isn't something you notice until it's gone.
Hmm.
And I think the main thing there is that it's the recognition that you get from working somewhere with that exchange of money. So you're getting paid to perform a service of some kind. That exchange, just the simple exchange that's happening there, tells yourself, like, subconsciously, that you have a value. And everyone has a value whether they're working or not. So I'm not trying to make a statement about your value. It's just something that automatically comes with working, that that you have to actually, if you're, let's say you're a stay-at-home parent, you have to kind of like artificially create that sense of identity through your work as a stay-at-home parent.
Hmm.
But it just kind of comes naturally when someone is actually paying you to show up, because like you're not getting that appreciation and thanks from your family for showing up every day. Maybe you are. Maybe you have a really special family, a really special one. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's definitely true. I think it can go the wrong way sometimes when you over-identify with your job, and then all of a sudden, because of structural changes or because of the economy or because the way business went, all of a sudden you're out of that role, and then you feel this loss of like, okay, well, who am I? So I would just caution against tying yourself too closely to that job, but it is definitely a benefit to having a job.
Yeah, absolutely. And glancing down this list a little bit further, and this kind of ties in with that, especially with what you brought up, is having a work-life balance.
Mm.
Could you expand on the importance of having a little bit of a balance, maybe between what you do at work and what you do away from work?
Yeah. Well, this is also a tricky one. Why are you asking me all these hard questions, Dan? There is, I don't know if there is such a thing as total work-life balance, because you're making sacrifices every day for one or the other, your life or your job. But if you don't have enough money to eat, then you're sacrificing that need. So I think work-life balance can, if you aren't working, and you could get over, and I don't know how to say this, you could get overwhelmed with the sense of, the freedom that you have, or all the different things that you could potentially do, and inadvertently create roadblocks for yourself. But when you have the structure of work, it puts things into perspective, and like, okay, well, I only have so much time outside of my schedule to accomplish my life goals. And so I'm going to need to be aggressive with those goals to make them happen. I can't just wait for them to happen. So I guess because there's a box there, it might help with
Maybe a little
creating
bit
that
of
sense of
structure.
balance. A little bit of structure.
A
I don't
little bit
know.
of structure.
Is that what it said? Did I hit the mark? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's nothing here. It just gives me bullet points. But yeah,
Okay.
no, I completely agree with you. I think you touched on a couple things in both of those points. The sense of identity, maybe not like, I think these are both very intertwined, right? So it's like the sense of identity thing. If you identify yourself as your job, I mean, and you work,
Right.
and then you don't have that, you could definitely feel that loss, like you mentioned. But then you also maybe didn't have great work-life balance to begin with, and at any given time, like you mentioned, maybe work needs a little more effort. Maybe your life away from work needs a little more effort. So I agree. Like there's definitely a pull, probably at all times, in your work-life balance. But those two things are very closely intertwined in my mind.
Yeah. If you come to the end of your work day and you have no brain power and you have nothing left to give and you show up at home and um, that's not satisfying either. So there's the you just have to figure out how to manage your time and um, say no to some of those pressures that come at you throughout the day. And likewise, in your home life, the same thing applies. And so just having that sense of responsibility to a job will sometimes help set
Mm-hmm.
those priorities.
Mm-hmm.
We did have a recent story in the Gazette, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I think it might, I don't know, I related to it a little bit. It was talking about reentry anxiety
Oh,
of people
interesting.
re-entering the workforce, or maybe even those working from home being, told basically to report back to work now. The pandemic's over, and I just thought it was kind of interesting. I had a question for you, Dan. I mean, have you felt this level of re-entry anxiety? I know the Gazette isn't back yet, but we are going to be heading back there in the fall.
Uh, Definitely, yeah. Working from home for so long, and I live alone as well. So, last year, and for a majority of maybe the last 15 months, uh, I didn't. I would go sometimes days with kind of just seeing myself, except for maybe getting outside and going for a walk
Mm-hmm.
or something and seeing some people on the sidewalk. So I definitely felt a little bit of this reentry anxiety. I ran into somebody yesterday that I hadn't seen in a couple of years, and I was trying to have a conversation with them, and I was like, man, I really have become a little socially awkward. Maybe I've always been a little socially awkward, but it was just, we weren't quite sure like how far to stand away from each other.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody that I hadn't seen in a while, and so yeah, definitely with like social events. And I know on Monday we had a team meeting down
Mm-hmm.
at our office, and just five of us, and um, I thought that was an amazing experience, really, because we we hadn't had an in-person meeting forever, and
Yeah.
I tell you what, it was. I thought it was really good to actually get off of the computer, get off of Zoom. Zoom is great, but it was good to get back in person and see some faces and be around people.
It was interesting too, because we've been on Zoom for over a year. And in our meeting, we were able to have two conversations going on at the same time, which potentially is a problem. Like, we should really all be in the same conversation and not have them. But it's just funny because like that could never happen over Zoom, because you wouldn't be able to understand the other person because of microphones and and the camera and all that stuff and
Yeah,
Zoom
that was
delay.
interesting.
So there's definitely that. I feel that reentry anxiety still, even
Mhm.
though I have a job. And so I just wonder, it must be difficult for job seekers who haven't been working for some time, or maybe they have not been seeking a job for some time and are now starting to get ready to seek a job for the first time in a little while. So there's that gap. And like you said, social awkwardness is set in for everyone, and all those layers on top. So I think there are many challenges job seekers are facing right now. It's not black and white, well, if you listen to the news, sometimes they'll say, well, if people just would work, we'd be better off. And it's like, well, it's not that simple. Like, there are a lot of complicated factors that go into whether someone is seeking work at any given time. And um, I don't know what the solution is, but I think just setting small steps for yourself, if you're going to go on that path of reentry to the workforce, maybe the first step is just looking at an application. Like, what are the things that they're asking for in the application? Maybe you're not even actually going to hit apply today, but maybe just click that apply now button just to see what is the very next step of the application process. Because sometimes it's upload a resume, sometimes it's create an account,
Mhm.
sometimes it's read this giant PDF and put all the information in. There's not great uniform ways that people can get jobs now.
Yeah, it's not a one size fits all
Mm-mm.
applying for a job. Yeah. Well, I want to hit on just one more thing, and I know we've talked a little longer today, maybe than we were expecting to, but I do want to go back a couple weeks now. We attended Entree Fest
Oh yeah.
conference downtown Cedar Rapids, and I attended virtually. I think you did in person, but
Hmm.
we our keynote speaker, his name is Marcus. He was formerly incarcerated, and he talked about his path to finding a job. And I don't, I think this holds true for anybody looking for a job, but he said he got turned down 41 times, and on his 42nd job application, he was then accepted and got a job at a paint store. And he kind of talked about his story and how he relayed that into starting his own business. And, now he's, working full time on his own business. But I thought it was a really interesting story. And it kind of what resonated to me was kind of the strength in numbers, right? Like,
Mm.
how do you have the ability to get turned down 41 times, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then on that 42nd try, you get it. And that's persistence and patience.
Well, think about what actors go through, right? Like
Yeah.
they get turned down all the time throughout their career and they continue to try. And that's just persistence there. Persistence is key. And one of the really cool things about Marcus's story was that, and we'll share if there's a link to the Entree Fest keynote, you should definitely watch it because it was really inspiring for all of us. But the thing is, he used that job opportunity as a springboard for his life. And is there something unique and amazing about a clerk at a paint store? He's just selling paint, right? Like that was a very kind of simple job that he was doing, but he did it with such joy and passion that people flocked to him, wanted to buy paint from him, and then it turned into this kind of, oh, maybe there's something there, maybe I've got something here. And he became a connector between contractors and people wanting to, homeowners wanting to have someone else paint and actually want to paint. And so he was able to make
Yeah.
that connection there and built a business off of that, and then became an entrepreneur after that. So that treating that next job like your first job it could be something really interesting for you. Just come at it with a different perspective. I know if you've been working for a while, then out of work, you may feel a lot of like mental blocks about re-entering the workforce, and you may come to a job interview with a lot of baggage. But if you could maybe just flip it so that you're treating that job opportunity as potentially your first job, just treat it like your first job. You could come at it with a renewed sense of potential that is going to speak to an employer in a way that is not going to if you bring all that other, well, you should hire me because I've got all this experience, or I've been doing this for however long.
Yeah, absolutely. And just I loved I think the interesting thing is it could have been a paint store. It could have been
Yeah.
Who knows, a furniture store. It could have been,
Mhm.
and the thing about his story was, like you said, he was just so passionate and energetic about just being able to go and help people, right, and serve
Mhm.
people, and have a smile on his face. And I think that's just so important. And so that's just a really cool story.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
Well,
we
today
have
we talked about a lot of things.
we have
Benefits of having a job, right?
benefits of having a job. Yeah, we covered a couple things there. We talked about Career Week and Career
Yeah.
Fair upcoming. September 16th is the Career Fair. And then we talked a little bit about Marcus's story, right?
Yeah.
And and his inspiring message, which hopefully we can find a link to the video and share that in the show notes.
Yeah. So just stay at it, be persistent, and try to come at your job search with a renewed sense of possibility.
Cool. All right, Liz, that'll do it. Thanks a lot.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.